Well, I've been avoiding any SRB2 mods that really lean into the fact that it's a Doom fan game for as long as I could. Samus, Tails Guy, Duke Nukem. But now I've sort of kind of fixed my camera woes, and with the release of Whisper the Wolf, now might be the time to go back and try some of them. Then again, Whisper does have the advantage of working well with both the first and third person camera, something those other characters don't really have the luxury of, so she may just be a diamond in the rough. Starting with the moveset, Whisper obviously relies entirely on her variable wisp spawn, which has abilities corresponding to 5 different wisps. Tapping spin while grounded will fire off a laser that ricochets off walls but lacks any form of homing ability. With many other characters, I would find that to be a flaw, but between the bouncing off walls and the deceptively large hitbox of the laser, I think that forcing you to aim entirely on your own actually works very well here. Besides, if you are struggling to hit something, you can hold spin while grounded to instead fire off a rocket, a much slower but homing projectile that creates a massive explosion on impact. Be careful though, because the explosion will also damage you while blasting you away from the impact, although this could be a great opportunity for rocket jumping, assuming you're good enough at managing your iframes. Whisper also has a few Wisp-on modes better suited for traversal. Pressing and holding jump in air will allow you to use the hover wisp, which functions both as a double jump and a glide. It also causes you to bounce slightly off any walls you touch, which is a feature that I'm not a massive fan of, although it's certainly more of a minor annoyance than a glaring problem. Pressing and holding spin in midair will allow you to use the spike ability, releasing a sword that drags you a short distance in air, which can be useful for maneuvering through gaps or compensating for missed jumps. Contacting a wall or the floor while in this state will cause you to be dragged along as if you're on a walk with a particularly vicious dog, destroying any enemies and scaling walls until the wisp bomb runs out of energy. Finally, pressing spin while also holding jump will cause you to use the cube form of the wisp bomb, a giant hammer that smashes you downwards and freezes any nearby enemies into further cubes. I feel this is probably the most finicky of the abilities, as it says the same command as the spike form in nearly the same context, which means you can often find yourself performing the wrong ability at the most inconvenient of times. Up until this point, I've pretty much exclusively played SRB2 with a third person camera. Unsurprisingly, for the vast majority of characters, it's best to play the 3D platformer using camera angle that gives you some ability to see around yourself without needing to constantly move the camera down to look at any upcoming pits. Even bosses mostly need to be played with this third person camera, as almost all of them have at least one attack that will leave some form of damaging effect on the ground. So using the first person camera will oftentimes lead into you walking into some fire or some goop you couldn't really see. But I'd say Whisper might be the first character I've played where it's actually possible, nay, some may even say fun, to play with this alternate camera. Obviously, in the case of the rocket or the laser, both of which need to be aimed, you can get a level of precision that you can't really match in third person. But even when trying to traverse the levels, the hover, spike and cube abilities are able to let you be quite sloppy with your jumps, while still allowing you to correct yourself pretty easily. She has enough horizontal and vertical movement abilities that you can really exploit many paths and take the best routes to avoid particularly difficult platforming areas. Overall, I'd say that Whisper is probably the character I've played recently that I've had the most fun in really exploiting SRB2's level design to my own benefit, and her moveset truly is extremely versatile, often to almost broken extremes. I don't think they really need it, but in the event where Light Acid decided Whisper needs a nerf, I'd say maybe stopping the rocket and cube abilities from being able to break through walls and floors would probably be the most suitable change. Now, when it comes to her sprites, Whispers are very, very good. Of course they are. This is a Light Acid mod, the sprites are always top tier. Very clean, very professional, full of little touches such as the wisps following you around or the side to side movement when using the hover wisp on. Therefore, I want to use this section to instead discuss the two graphical choices I think really stand out amongst the crowd. Firstly, we need to discuss the obvious, first person wisp on sprites. I think that if this Whisper was made by a lesser creator, the rockets and lasers would simply appear from below the camera in first person view, bursting from her stomach like some pastel coloured chest burster. And that would have been fine. I sincerely doubt anyone would have complained about that, but the fact that the Wisp-on does indeed appear is a genuinely really nice piece of polish that really shows they went the extra mile. The other graphical choice I wanted to mention is the quality of the particle effects. I think Light Dash is probably one of the best modders out there when it comes to particle effects. I think that her previous character Surge had some great lightning effects, but I think Whispers are better yet. The way the spike bounces along the floor, the rings the hover gives off, the ricocheting effect of the laser that makes any area you fire it in turn into a rave. I especially love how meaty the rocket explosions feel. I could spend all day running through SRB2 blowing up enemies from a mile away and watching the explosions that happen afterwards. Overall, a really solid set of sprites, but I think it's the extra details with the first person view and the particle effects that really set it apart. In conclusion, Whisper is definitely a contender for one of my favourite mods I've played with so far in SRB2. Considering I'm creeping pretty close to 100 mods I've covered so far on this channel, I'd like to think that that's pretty high praise, even if I am usually a little too positive. But I genuinely do think the moveset of the character is extremely strong, with my only problems with it being minor nitpicks or annoyances. The sprite work is near perfect. I don't really have anything I can really say to improve it. I think my favourite SRB2 modded characters do one of three things. They have impeccable flow, they change the way you play the game, or they allow you to exploit the level design to your own whims. I think Whisper does all three, so I don't think I can really justify giving her anything less than a 10 out of 10. It's a good thing they came out when they did, as this will be the last mod I'm going to be counting for the 1000 subscriber special. At the time of me scripting this video, the poll I'm currently running is currently saying most of you want me to give my 10 favourite mods, so I think it's safe to say Whisper will be sung up somewhere on that list. For now though, I hope you enjoyed the video, and ciao.